So if you get here early, you get the poem. I picked actually already, kind of curated these because they go with what I was talking about yesterday and this morning, which is cause and effect. So cause and effect, right? It indicates the passage of the forward movement of time. And, but, right, if you remember the discussion on polarity, or if you listen to my episode number 8 on the Green Knight podcast, which is greenknight.green, right? Episode 8 is the Hermetic Principles. And the Hermetic Principles go back to before the fall, before the fall of man. If you guys study history or any kind of this esoteric knowledge and stuff, right? This stuff comes from the previous age. I guess you could call it Atlantis, and was preserved and then hijacked and taken over. But so it's not this spiritual mumbo jumbo, although it includes spirit. Spirit is part of this aspect, or it's an aspect of reality, right? The transcendental component of reality, right? So it's not religion, it's science. So the principle of polarity, right? We could go over all the principles, but mostly polarity encompasses all of the principles. And cause and effect is a polar relationship. Cause and effect, right? One cannot exist without the other, right? Try to define cause, right, without an effect. Right? Just saying the word cause, you're thinking, what did it cause, right? So, but it's the forward passage of time, If this happens, right, cause, then this occurs, effect, right? But since it's a polar relationship, every effect has a cause. So the passage of time is an illusion, right? And it is our thought, right, actually, that generates the illusion of the forward passage of time, our thinking, It is our awareness of our sense of self. So Ariana actually asked for a clarification on this, and it's not easy, right? It's not an easy concept, and it is another concept, right? So it is using thoughts to describe it, and words, are kind of thoughts that are like stones, and so it's unfathomable. It's unfathomable, right? The mind is incapable of actually understanding it, but you can understand it, right? The understanding, right? And so when you give up your your defense of your psychological sense of self, you are capable of coming to terms with paradox, right? And so that's what we are. Just being alive is a paradox, and there's too many to count. But the thing about the event causing a cause, right? The event creating a cause, right? That's the retrocausality. This is what I was talking about, right? And so in order for that to occur, right? In order for that to be, then you cannot be there for that, right? Your psychological sense of self has to be gone, right? But then, so those kinds of things, right, when you can actually, right, this is, right, so I'm having trouble now. So I like to use the if-then statement, right, which is what I was saying the other night. If this, then that, right? So we just reverse that. That, then, this, if. Right? And so it's like retro-causality. And then I was talking about acausal intent. So causal intent is the intent of the will, right? The intent of the individual, the intent of the ego or the psychological self, right? And so that's regular cause and effect, right? If I do this, then this will occur, right? And so the inverse of that, right, is being the effect, right? And when you let go of your psychological sense of self, right, then a causal intent, that is a causal intent. You have an intent, right, but you're not being attached to the outcome, right? And you can't be attached to the outcome because you are the outcome. The intent is the outcome. It already is, right? It's already done. And that's ever-present origin, right? So when you operate from that positioning, right, it's as if it was always there. It always was. It was ever-present. Does that make sense? And I mean, just it puts a smile on my face, because that's magic, you know, and that is, you know, there's a lot of ways to say it, but ever-present origin, right, that kind of says it all, because it is, as, right, you're, if you want to, like, right, it's like you're rewriting the code of the universe, right? That you are actually affecting the initial conditions of the original cause of all things. And so that's why it was always meant to be. And so that's how you do magic. And that's what Qigong permits you to approach that, because you are watching yourself watch yourself, right? And so then the lines are blurred, right? You can no longer actually decide which observer is yourself, right? And you get into a state of meditation, which is, this is the no longer defending your psychological sense of self. And that is meditation, right? That is flow state. Right? It's not something that you do in the morning. It's something you always are, right? And that's the purpose of all of this. It was always meant to be, right? We're already perfect. Do you remember? Do you remember your perfection? So there's nothing to be done. And then, right, the intent is, and the intent, right, at the risk of saying, right, of placing a causal will upon whatever this fucking is, you know, whatever I'm doing, right? The intent is to return to our natural state, which is to shed this artificial construct that we all live in, you know, because it wasn't meant to be, you know, and the way that we all are trying to fix the system with the system, you know, it doesn't matter who it is out there, right? All of these self-help people, they're actually reinforcing the system, right? And then Everything that you think you're doing that's good is just reinforcing it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, you know, do good without fucking trying to measure it as good, right? Just do it. Just do it. That's Wu Wei. That's the Tao. That is superior virtue, right? Superior virtue isn't concerned with whether or not what they're doing is virtuous, you know? And so that's why this training, we'll call it training, is fucking paramount. And it's probably why Instagram removed all of my videos. I'm only 10 days in, y'all. I don't even have any fucking followers. And I'm already getting censored, right? That's a good sign. That's fucking badass, if you ask me. But that means you have to tell your friends to subscribe. And what was always meant to be will be. You will be your highest and most, you will be operating at your highest potential, right? And what was for the highest good of all becomes. You know? And also, right, why wouldn't you want to operate at your highest potential? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want your body to actually be its best? Why wouldn't you want that? And because you're already perfect. It's already there, right? Just fucking all of you, this conditioning and this living and this education and stuff is like this husk that, right, a yoke. Fucking shed the yoke, right? Cut the fucking strings and become all you can be. So I wanted to say that, right? That again, right? The idea is we can go live over at YouTube, right? These are the tools we must use. Instagram is co-opted. Google is co-opted, but still, right? We can use this technology and go through the back door, you know, without them ever realizing what happened. Because it's our technology, it's fucking ours, and technology isn't bad. Anything can be corrupted. If history is any indication, if we look back at all of the inventions, right, the radical innovation of the past, it begins as the savior of the collective, right, the savior of mankind, and ends as the enslaver. Okay? The internet can still save us. It's not too late. It's only twilight, y'all. It's only 8:30. Yeah, and so there's a lot of dark forces out there. And I am protected. All of y'all are protected, right? So don't worry about that. They got us. And also, right, you are a divine being walking the earth. Okay? Walking in the dark, knowing the placement of things, lit by memory, familiar layout, extra sense navigation, intimate knowledge, no expectations, eager anticipation, and still surprises. A thousand moments, one to bifurcate a life. Our paths are knitted. I miss the seconds, this adjusted life, shifted future memory, halted procession, an instant eternity, paradox of touch. Night and day, spin up, spin down, equinox, touch, paradox, 10,000 miles, or 10 to the minus 10. I am inside of you, and you are me. Equidistant duration, day and night. The present moment is not a sliver, not an instant, though it appears to be. What seems like an edge is a great open field. Surrender to the now, for it is all that is, was, and will be. Yeah. So yeah, be the effect, right? Remove the will from the equation, because will is actually a limitation, right? You're limited. I heard a guy today talk about it in a way that makes sense. Like, if you make up your mind, then what else is there to fucking do? Right? You never make up your mind. It's only an approach, right? You can only approach it. And whenever you pitch your tent, right? The storm will come up and blow that shit down the mountain. Right? Never pitch your tent. So I wanted to, clarify that cause and effect, the principle of cause and effect, and remind y'all to go and listen to the podcast from the beginning if you haven't already started. Episode 8 is a banger. All of them. All of them are, right? Even the interviews that I do. So I try to bring on people that I think are smart enough to challenge what I'm thinking. But it ends up being kind of right, the unfathomable becomes an opinion. and fuck that. This shit ain't an opinion. This shit ain't a belief, right? This is knowing, right? And knowing is, the thing about knowing is that that what you know is that absolute knowledge is not obtainable. That's what you know. And you also know that you are spirit, right? With a physical vehicle that you drive, right? And Qigong, what I'm trying to teach you guys, makes your vehicle fucking the best. So that's what I'm doing, and I hope you all will go and subscribe so that what was always meant to be can be, which is that we return to our natural rhythm, to the natural rhythm, and we shed this abomination that is riding on top of us, feeding off of us, and so that suffering is not necessary, right? Polarity exists, contrast exists, but unnatural death, right? Death that is caused by the fucking shit that we do, right? And what it does is, death is necessary for debt to continue, right? The debt system, right? For fiat currency to be revalued, there has to be massive amounts of loss periodically, right? Because people living just add value. It's ever increasing, right? It's not a diminishing supply, right? And for the scarcity model of value to work, which is debt, the debt model, there has to be a limited supply, right? And there is not. There's no limited supply. It's unlimited. So we facilitate living. That's what we do. We don't always expect the worst, right? And so we accept protection from an entity that actually creates the threat so that it can offer a solution for it, right? Pretty easy to understand. So a question about breath. So when you're breathing, right, you breathe in from your stomach. When you're doing the Qigong, right? And so So you get in the horse stance, right? Turn under without flexing. Right? So you push your lumbar out, thoracic forward, drop your chin, right? And you breathe in from the belly, right? And then you expand out the side. But you don't think about filling the top of your lungs, which is, how we, normally breathe. It's like we're breathing to the top right away. So we fill from the bottom, right? And breathe without making a noise, right? And it's like that gossamer breath actually puts you at the right breathing rate, and we all have different volumes of lungs, so there's no one speed, right? 5 breaths for me will be different for you, because I'm 5% Neanderthal. Got massive lungs. And yep. So I guess that's it for now, you guys. I'm gonna do the training in the morning again. And again, so the standing is all you need, but if you subscribe, then there'll be more, right? I'll show you the other movements, and then the special Merkaba meditation. And perhaps we'll get, go into strength training too. So that's the other thing, right? If you're doing cardio, you're wasting your time. Yeah, sorry. That's recreation. Do it for fun, right? Play basketball, play a game. Do it for fun. If you like running and you think it's fun, okay, fine. But our heart and lungs are secondary to our muscular skeletal, right? Because without that, what's a heart and lungs, right? That's just delivering oxygen. So you work your muscles. Fucking Popeye, right? Eat healthy. Don't eat too many calories, right? Don't eat processed bullshit, right? It's all pretty straightforward. So yeah, it's strength training, right? And you can do body weight, right? You don't have to go to the gym, but you can go to the gym, right? And when you go to the gym and you're doing this kind of training that I want to show you, you're going to stand out, right? And so you have to not give a fuck, right? And this is what this is all about, not giving a fuck, right? Because preservation of your psychological sense of self, right? That's giving a fuck. That's measurement, right? Do not measure, because when you measure, you collapse the wave function, right? And you pitch your tent, right? Keep it nebulous, right? And stay on the fulcrum. Walk between the crashing top of the wave and the bottom of the trough, right? You just step between these polarities. It's like Aikido, right? You use the energy around you, right, to actually propel you. So, yeah, I could talk for hours, but I will, on YouTube. So subscribe, Birch Driver on YouTube. Search for it with quotes around it until I get big enough where I just dominate the search list, all right? Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.